Oh, Max is in a bit of a huff. He heard me say that Jamie Evans, the jockey, was the special guest today. What's wrong with me, he said. I've come all the way down from Sydney. Now, you were fine and dandy this morning when you spoke to the producer on the end. Now you reckon you've got a cold. What's happened to you?
No, I'm all right. Of course, I'm sitting in Keith Elliott's chair, so anybody in that position would be all right.
It wasn't the Melbourne weather that did it to you in the last hour, was it?
Well, put it this way, it hasn't picked me up a great deal.
Jamie, congratulations. A great ride yesterday, and great win, and it's a great race, the Hiskins, isn't it?
It's a fantastic race, Bruce. You know, it is the Cox Plate of jumping, and it was great to win it for a second time.
What about the idea of set weights and a few penalties for feature races in the jumping season?
I think it's great. It will revolutionise jumps racing in Victoria because it enables the top horses to stay weighted in the big races each year. You know, we used to have a problem with the good horses getting weighted out, but now with the set weight races, they can, you know, come up every year.
Max, it's the opportunity for good flat horses maybe to do what they do in England and go for the feature races where they're almost at a weight for age scale.
Yes, I see a lot of attractive points about jumps racing, and I think this was highlighted yesterday. The one thing I wonder about set weight races, how would you, Jamie, weight a horse like Century Magic in a major steeplechase that basically only has hurdle form?
Well, this is it. I mean, you've got to go on his hurdle form, and this is what, the thing people don't realise is the difference between hurdling and steeplechasing. It's a big difference.
Much quicker tempo hurdle racing? Much
quicker, and the steeples, you can't afford to make one blue, as Century Magic did make a couple of blues and nearly sold out. So, you know, there's a big difference in it, and you sort of got to, you know, they've got to prove themselves over the fences before you can weight them right up to their potential.
Well, you say you nearly sold out. You had a real problem at the fifth last, didn't you, where you lost your irons, and of course we'll see you at the last with a great piece of horsemanship. Was it a tough ride for you?
It was pretty tough because he was trying to hurdle most of them. Being a novice, you know, a novice at the Caper, he's only scored 2 or 3 times, but Robert Spoon done a great job and, you know, prepared him well, and I was lucky, but I mean, he's managed to stay on his feet.
Reading the paper this morning, you say you learned a trick coming to the last. Tell us about this when you were in Ireland.
Yeah, see, the Irish and English, they ride on a very long rein over there because there's so much jumps racing. I mean, they fall off quite a lot, and they learn to ride on a long rein, which I think Rodney Griffiths now rides on a very long rein, and he's improved his riding immensely. Yeah, when they're wrong at one and their heads hit the ground, a lot of the jockeys in Australia, if they're riding on a short rein, they get ejected out the front. That's what happens when the horse loses his rider. But by going to England and Ireland, you learn to ride on a bit longer rein, and then if their heads do go down, you've got more chance of staying in the saddle.
Yes, a beautiful trait of horsemanship, that long rein. But Jamie, this fly swatting with the whip, this out the back here, what is the benefit of that?
Well, I've got no elbow no more, Max. I had a bad fall and lost my elbow, and it's very, very hard for me to be as vigorous the Australian way. And I think a horse only needs to be hit once every 3 strides after the end of a jumping race. I mean, he's done his best, and it's not like a sprint race where you're flying to the line and you can get the momentum up the Australian way. You hit them once the English way, and they stay hit because you can hit them a lot harder, and they only need to be hit once every 3 strides.
Is it the same rule in British racing for jumping jockeys as it is for flat jockeys, where you can only hit a horse a certain number of times?
I think you're only allowed to hit him 4 times from the second last jump to the winning post.
And you find this very effective? Well, obviously the top English horsemen do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't do it on the flat because, I mean, Greg Hall's done it a couple of times, but I wouldn't do it. Just in the jumping races, they're at their top, you know, and at the end of a gruelling jumping race, they only need to be hit once or twice.
If weights are raised in the next few years, and there's a chance they might be, isn't there, Max? I mean, people are getting bigger. Jockeys are getting bigger, and I think the horses that get 45 and 46 is unrealistic now in the Melbourne Cup. There's no one to ride them. Would you consider, I mean, what weight could you ride at if a champion stayer was given a big weight in a big race like the Melbourne Cup?
If I was in Australia during the summer months, I could get my weight down to 55. I think it's a very, very big problem with the weights these days with the jockeys because, as you said, everyone's getting bigger. And from inside the jockeys' room, there's a lot of the jockeys are unhappy about the minimum weight. I think these days the minimum weight should be 53 at least.
Well, there's an opportunity. I mean, you rode lots of winners. I know you rode the Geelong Cup winner, didn't you, on the flat?
Yeah, I had 285 winners on the flat.
Not bad, is it? So Stay with us, Jamie. I want to ask you about some of the Melbourne Cup chances coming up, because you might have seen a couple of them. Let's get into the Missile Stakes. Clocker winning for the second consecutive year. I know you were very keen on Stormy Regent, weren't you, the 3-year-old, who ran a great race, by the way.
Yeah, Stormy Regent led, perhaps was a trifle underdone, but gave his back as a great sight. Jim Cassidy rode a very good tactical race here. He's taking Clocker up on the outside now. Now, under normal circumstances, you'd say Cassidy's covering too much ground, going a little bit quick. But under yesterday's circumstances, this was the right way to ride this mare. She was well turned out by John Morris, and as you can see here now, as the front runner Stormy Regent starts to paddle, Cassidy pumping away, getting the best out of the mare, and gets Stormy Regent the last couple of strides.
She's coming for the
Manikato down the outside and burst just up behind.
Sorry, Max, she's coming for the Manikato. Do you think she's a better horse this time than she was last year? She'll have to be better.
Now, if she was mine, she'd stay in Sydney. I think it's easier, but of course the prize money's better in the Manikato, so I suppose connections feel the gamble is there.
Hariba, was he close to starting?
Well, how close can a horse get when he's not quite right?
Well, they did the right thing, obviously.
Oh, certainly. But Hariba's one of these speed freaks. And of course, they put so much into their galloping, they can hurt themselves, they strain themselves, they put stress on themselves. That's what's happening to Hariba.
Actually, I always worry when horses run sensational times on the track for about a month before they have a run. You just wonder how much is left by the time they get to their third or fourth start.
Oh, it's the individual. It's the individual.
Sure, I agree, but you just wonder if he'll still be around when it counts most in the spring. I hope I'm completely wrong. What about the protest in the last? Social Rule getting it. White Blaze in the straight. Most interesting one here. The gap seems to close with about 200 metres to run, and Max, the protest was upheld.
Yes, the winning margin was 3/4 of a length. Social Rule, of course, was aided perhaps by not seeing the winning post too soon, because he's got an adverse opinion of the winning post. He can prop at it, but the stewards stop-framed the film, and that they showed it that there was a run there for Social Rule. The winner, My Diamond Rouge, came across, and if you note in the straight, there's a lot of buffeting inside, and this was the key area, whether Social Rule was inconvenienced mostly by the eventual winner, My Diamond Rouge. That's Social Rule in the red, poking up on the inside now, My Diamond Rule in the yellow colours, but on the inside there's a lot of scrimmage. You ought to stay, go out there, but the stewards ascertained that My Diamond Rouge came across and interfered with Social Rule, who is not the most consistent racehorse in the world.
He won the Doomben Classics as a 3-year-old, didn't he? Looked like being nearly top class and hasn't quite gone on. Has only won 2 races in a couple of years. In Adelaide yesterday, Subastral won the feature race there. The favourite was Skipper Regent, very smart 2-year-old from Victoria. Laura's Express was in this race, who had beaten Big Sky Montana at its last start, and the Grey Voguess, who had a huge rap on it, in about the 3rd last place at the moment. Now, Skipper Regent gets into all sorts of trouble in the pink colours, White Blaze in about 10th position. I still think it's got a terrific future. This is a 2- and 3-year-old race at weight for age conditions, always run on the last weekend before they have their birthday, and all the horses having their birthday tomorrow, by the way. It's one of the reasons we brought Max down here. And you'll see that Subastral takes the lead. From Paddington End, another 2-year-old, and Major Wilkes running on. And I did like the run of Skipper Regent in 4th placing. Max, just quickly, the Melbourne Cup, 23 nominations, 6 from Ireland, 2 French, 1 Hong Kong, 14 English. Going to be tough to handicap these horses.
Oh, yes, but handicapping, of course, is the key. And another vital area, it's not so much the vintage crops, the horses that are known, but it's the horse that perhaps Jamie Evans knows about that could be...
Do you know one, Jamie?
Fame and Fortune, I've seen him run. He won the IRG Champion Hurdle in Ireland, which was the major lead-up race to Cheltenham. Carried 12 stone, which is 76, and won on the bridle. He's a very, very good horse. Hasn't had much flat racing, but Dermot Well wouldn't be bringing him here for no reason.
We found that out last year. Max, great to see you in Melbourne. Stick around for a week or two. You might get used to it. Jamie, congratulations.
Thanks very much, Bruce.